It's time to take a deep breath and quiet the mind. Every breath and thought was energy that brought us to our experience in this moment. We are going to exercise our beliefs in the possible. We will bend and create our own realities. Let's explore how to square our recovery and thrive in life. I welcome you to Recovery Squared Radio with your host, Steve Wofford.
Welcome to Recovery Squared Radio. I'm Steve Wofford. This show today is going to be about this show. I wanted to let you guys know what this show is about and how it came to be about. I want to share a little bit about myself, where I came out in the podcast world, and a little bit about my business in general, but I wanted to just let you know what this show is really about at the core and what I'm trying to do with it. How many of you can remember the first time you listened to a podcast? As I was preparing for this show, I started to think about the first time I listened to a podcast. It was somewhere in the late 90s, maybe. And I had just started my technology career, and podcasts were on the fringes. And I know that I started listening and using the technology. It was mostly centered around technology shows. You know, back then, likely the only people that could actually produce and release a podcast were techie types. And I know that a lot has changed since then, where just your average person that can use a laptop can get a podcast going. So it's pretty neat to watch it grow. And several years ago, I started listening to a lot of different types of podcasts and was really blown away about how niche down you can go. And what are maybe some of the obscure podcast topics that you've found on your own? And you're kind of like, wow, I didn't know there was an entire show dedicated to just that. And that's very counter to, the mainstream media. And so podcasting really is a powerful medium because we can get zeroed in on the type of shows and the type of content that we want to consume. But, I really started looking at, podcasts around finances, Bitcoin, politics, outdoor shows on survival, firearms podcasts, doomsday and prepper shows, like how do you survive the end of the world? And I was also a big fan of one of the fly fishing podcast shows out there put on by Orvis. And so I've had all sorts of different exposures to different types of podcasts. But more recently, the last several years or so, I moved into more personal improvement podcasts, especially after I started to live a recovery-based lifestyle. I would say probably the most influential podcast that I've ever listened to would be Dave Asprey's Bulletproof Executive. Like Dave Asprey, he was a software developer, and I think he was like 200-300 pounds overweight. And I remember in one of his shows or one of his blog posts, I don't remember where it came, but he had a brain scan done, and basically the doctors told him it looks like you were a hardcore drug addict. And so when I saw his transformation and the tools that he used, I really consumed a lot of what he promotes. And basically his idea is to gain control over your biology, your mind and your body. And so using a lot of things he teaches, I was able to lose 50 pounds of fat. I have insane amounts of energy. I cured my liver disease. My doctor told me I had the best blood work she's ever seen. So I owe a lot to that show, and definitely worth a shout out as an inspiration in what I wanted to also create with Recovery Squared, because he has phenomenal guests. And every time I listen to a show, I'm like, oh, wow, I learned something. I just love the podcasting community, and I love what it does. And I love the opportunity I get to share my own message out there with the community. I wanted to fill you in a little bit on why I started Recovery Squared Radio. But basically, I wanted to capture those magical conversations that I have with other people almost every single day. How many times have you had a conversation that gave you chills? And you're like, wow, how do I reproduce that? So it's basically at a point where I started seeing a pattern, whether it's working with my, neurofeedback provider, doctors, chiropractors, other coaches, healers, or people that have gone through their own transformation. And I saw a pattern. I'm like, how cool would it be to capture that so I can help inspire people? And not only that, I get to go talk to just cool people that are just going to help me expand in what's possible in my life and how do I take my life to the next level. Because really, the show is a platform to explore deeper ways to heal and transform. I wanted to create a show that gives you chills. I want you to experience what's possible. I have brought heaven down on earth, and I want you to experience this too. Although I owe me originally getting clean to the 12-step recovery programs out there, I had to recover from so many different things. And I started looking at different aspects in my life that needed a different type of healing. I don't know if you can relate, but can you imagine something where one modality of healing, whether it's 12 steps or church, but you feel like there's something else out there that you need? A lot of the work I do centers around kind of the mind, body, spirit, and they're really all one. And so how do you take a holistic approach to recovering that? At one point, drugs and alcohol stopped being what I needed to address. In reality, getting clean was somewhat easy to do for me once I made that decision. But after I originally got clean, diet and exercise are really what catapulted me into new ways of being. And then I really found that the fundamentals of what I learned early in recovery helped create a foundation that I applied to all aspects of my life. I started doing things like yoga and meditation and recovering my body, recovering my mind. Then I also had to recover from my wife's affair and divorce. And my divorce is still going through. And I've had to use different modalities to help recover from that. So I was at a place where using all sorts of tools to completely transform every aspect of my life. And I got so good at doing this work, I started to do it professionally as a coach. And then also now is delivering my message and creating platforms to get this information out. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what Recovery Squared is. I believe that we're all recovering from something, and really at its core, we're recovering from that disconnection of our true essence. We are recovering from who we were created to be, because we were created to thrive. So it's my goal to inspire. It's my goal to expand in what is possible. It's my goal to help transform the world. This podcast is part of that. Because I desire to make ideas and support systems and tools available to people. And so I'll do this through my podcast, speaking, writing, different programs that I have and products that I have coming out, and then also my one-on-one and group coaching. So tell you a little bit about how I'll be doing this. I'll be delivering a weekly interview-based show that will average about 30 minutes. I will search high and low for people that will help inspire and provide tools to take your life to the next level. I'll also provide some additional content in the form of solo shows, something similar to this show, but these will basically be quicker 15-minute shows where I'll speak on a specific subject or share something that I might be going with that might provide value to somebody. But these shorter shows will actually help me go deeper and share more and likely be an opportunity to be quite a bit more vulnerable. I wanted to express some gratitude because several years ago, there was a day when I had been up for 3 days getting high with my wife at the time. And when I was coming down, I found out that my wife of 20 years was having an affair. I had a gun to my head, and I had a decision to make. I decided that I would never live like that again. So this show is the fruit of the seed that was planted on the worst day of my life. I don't care if you're at your rock bottom or knowing there is more, or that you have a pretty good life but need to continue your personal evolution to living your potential. Recovery Squared is about taking the things we recover from, big and small, and using them as a step into living our purpose. So please go to recoverysquared.com and sign up for some of the resources that I've made available that will help you get to your next level. And for a very short time, I'm offering a free one-on-one coaching call with me. This won't last too long. I also have some frameworks to send you that will illustrate the Recovery Squared belief process. I'm also building a community around Recovery Squared, and when you sign up, we can add you to our secret Facebook group where we can connect with other people that are like-minded. But I want to build relationships. I want to build a tribe. So I invite you to be a part of this community. I love you, and I'm grateful for you listening and supporting Recovery Squared. Thank you for listening to Recovery Squared Radio. Please visit recoverysquared.com for access to resources on squaring your recovery. And as a reminder, act without doing. Create space between your thoughts and actions.